There's a reason the dragon shows up in every myth, not just as a monster to slay but as a mirror, because the dragon isn't out there. It's the fear that lives inside, the one guarding the life you were meant to live. We're drawn to safe paths, predictable ones, but deep down there's a fire, a call to step off the map, to leave behind who you were told to be, and face the unknown parts of yourself. That's where the real story begins. Today we're not talking about fairy tales, we're talking about your life, and the ancient myth that's still shaping it. The hero, the dragon, the treasure, they're all you. So if that fire's still burning in you, subscribe, and let's go deeper. Dragons never really left our stories. They're everywhere, from medieval legends to modern fantasy, from Game of Thrones to How to Train Your Dragon. But beneath all the fire and scales, there's something deeper, something ancient. The dragon myth isn't just about monsters. It's about what we fear, and what we might become if we dare to face that fear. Across cultures, dragons show up as powerful forces that must be confronted. In Western myths, they're often destructive. Hoarders of treasure, sleeping beneath mountains, threatening villages, guarding something sacred or forbidden. In Eastern traditions, they're more complex, symbols of chaos, wisdom, even transformation. But no matter the form, dragons are thresholds. They mark the boundary between the known and the unknown, between safety and something greater. Think of the Hobbit. Bilbo is an ordinary, comfort-loving man. His life is quiet, predictable, safe. But when he's called to adventure, the path leads him, quite literally, to a dragon, Smaug, asleep on a mountain of stolen gold. But Smaug isn't just a beast, he's a test. The dragon represents everything Bilbo isn't yet. Courage, risk, transformation. And the treasure? It's not just gold. It's what lies on the other side of fear, growth, purpose, a new self. That's what the myth is really about. Because the dragon isn't only the obstacle, it's the guardian of something sacred, a treasure, a truth, a part of ourselves that we've buried and now have to reclaim. In ancient symbolism, the dragon's cave is the womb of transformation. To enter it is to die as one thing and emerge as another. But here's the catch. You can't bypass the dragon. You can't sneak past it or pretend it's not there. You have to look it in the eye. You have to choose to go in. And what's hidden inside isn't just gold or glory. It's something far more personal. The part of you that was meant to live, but hasn't yet. So what does it actually mean to face the dragon within? According to Carl Jung, every myth lives inside us. They're not just stories we tell, they're patterns we live. And one of the most powerful of these patterns is the archetype of the hero. But here's the twist. The real hero's journey doesn't begin out there in the world. It begins inside. Jung believed we all carry a deep psychological structure made of archetypes, ancient blueprints that shape how we see the world, how we feel, and how we act. And the most avoided, most feared of these is the shadow. The shadow is everything in you that you've been taught to reject. Your insecurities, your anger, your desires, your fears. It's the parts of yourself that you don't want to see, so you push them into the dark. And guess what archetype often guards that dark cave? Exactly, the dragon. But the dragon is the shadow. It's not some external evil force. It's you, distorted by fear, shame, and repression. That's why every hero must confront it, because unless you face your shadow, you'll never know who you really are. It's easy to imagine the enemy is out there, the system, the critics, the obstacles, but most of the time, the biggest resistance comes from within. Think about Harry Potter. The final battle isn't just about Voldemort. It's about Harry facing the parts of himself that are like Voldemort, the darkness he could become, the fear that maybe he's not so different. Or take Luke Skywalker. He doesn't truly become a Jedi until he enters the cave on Dagobah and sees his own face behind Darth Vader's mask. The message is clear. You don't conquer the dragon by destroying it. You conquer it by recognizing it as part of yourself. The real danger is in denial. The more you ignore the shadow, the more it controls you from beneath, and the more it grows. But when you confront it, when you bring the unconscious into consciousness, you reclaim your power. You stop running, you stop blaming, and you start living with awareness instead of fear. That's what Jung called individuation, becoming a whole human being, not just the parts that look good, but the full, messy, mysterious self you were always meant to be. And the dragon? It becomes a guide, not a monster. We're taught to follow the map, pick the safe path, do what makes sense, what's proven, what others approve. But what if the map isn't yours? What if the path that looks safe is actually the one leading you away from yourself? Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, because that means leaving behind what's familiar, even if it's comfortable, and stepping into the dark." In myth, this is called the threshold. It's where the hero leaves the known world behind. It's the moment they stop following and start becoming. Think of Moana. She hears a call no one else understands. The ocean chooses her, not because she's ready, but because she's willing to go. Or Neo in The Matrix. He could have taken the blue pill and gone back to sleep, but instead, he chooses the unknown, the real world, harder, scarier, uncertain, but true. That's the essence of the heroic path, not certainty, not victory, but the willingness to walk where there are no guarantees, where no one can walk for you. And it's hard. You'll question everything, yourself, your worth. You'll feel lost, like you've taken a wrong turn. But that lostness is part of it, because the real path isn't found, it's forged. You carve it with every risk you take, every fear you face, every time you say, "This is hard, this might fail, but this is mine." And that's how you know the path is real, not because it's smooth, but because it challenges you. The philosopher Joseph Campbell called it the dark forest. You enter it alone, no trail, no light, just instinct, and the courage to take the next step. And in that darkness, something changes. You stop trying to be who they want you to be, and you start becoming who you really are. The four elements in many myths, fire, water, air, earth, represent what you'll need on this path. Fire, your inner spark, your purpose. Water, your emotions, your intuition. Air, your vision, your clarity. Earth, your grounding, your courage to act. And when all these are in motion, something awakens. You're no longer just surviving, you're transforming. The map is gone, but the path finally begins. So what lies behind the dragon? What's the treasure that makes the fear worth facing? It's not gold, not fame, not even success, at least not the way the world defines it. The real treasure is the life you were meant to live, not the one that was expected of you, not the one that's easiest, but the one that's true. In myths, the princess is often portrayed as the reward, but symbolically she's something far more powerful. She represents life itself, rich, fertile, meaningful. Not because she's fragile, but because she carries the seed of creation, the possibility of becoming. To rescue her is to reclaim the vitality that was stolen by fear, to say, "This is my life now, and I'm ready to live it." But here's the twist: that life, that treasure, that meaning, it was never really hidden. It was inside you all along, buried, guarded, waiting. And the dragon, it wasn't trying to destroy you, it was trying to protect something sacred in a twisted, unconscious way. That's what fear does. It disguises itself as protection. It whispers, "Stay here, don't risk it, don't try." But what it's really doing is locking you out of your own becoming. To slay the dragon is not to eliminate fear, it's to face it with responsibility. To say, "I don't know how this ends. I might fail, it might hurt, but I choose to live this life, mine, with open eyes." That's what makes someone a hero. Not power, not perfection, but presence. The willingness to walk into the fire, not because you're fearless, but because something inside you is finally too alive to ignore. That's when the transformation happens. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself. You stop searching for the path because you become the path. And that's the real treasure. Not certainty, but meaning. Not safety, but the courage to respond to your own calling. The dragon didn't die in vain. It died so that you could begin. There's a moment in every real journey where you realize no one's coming to save you. Not the mentor, not the gods, not even the myth. Because the hero was always you, and the dragon was always the test. And here's the truth most people never hear. You can live your whole life avoiding the dragon, choosing the easy path, staying small, numbing the fire inside you with distractions, obligations, comfort, and the world won't punish you for that. In fact, it might reward you. But you'll know. Deep down you'll feel it, that quiet ache, that sense that something was left undone, that somewhere along the way, you stopped becoming. Because the dragon doesn't vanish when you ignore it. It just waits. It waits in the job that drains you, in the relationships that shrink you, in the choices that feel safe but hollow. And it's still guarding something, that spark in you that refuses to die, that small voice that says there's more. Not more success, not more recognition, but more you, more realness, more life. So maybe today isn't about slaying the dragon. Maybe it's about turning toward it, finally, and asking, well, what have you been keeping from me? Because you already know the answer. It's the version of you who isn't afraid to fail, who doesn't need permission, who would rather live fully and risk everything than stay asleep one more day. That's what's behind the fire. That's what's waiting in the cave. And that is where your kingdom begins. If this journey stirred something in you, that's not an accident. It means the dragon is still there, and maybe, just maybe, you're ready to face it. So if you're walking that path, subscribe and keep going with us. There are more myths to explore, more symbols to uncover, and more truths waiting inside you. See you in the next chapter.